I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, September the 15th, brought to you in part by Pike Feeds, serving all of Missouri and Illinois. Pike Feed works around the needs of every individual operation. It's a do-all meal. They've got premixes, balancers, minerals, grain mixes, and supplements of all kinds, including natural supplements. Check out Pike Feeds. On our last visit, we talked about record beef exports for the United States. This time we're going to talk about record beef production. So our slaughter's been up, we've been running ahead of the game, and your hog slaughter's been down at the same time, but we're going to end up being about 0.2% larger than a year ago, and a year ago was record beef production in 2021, but we're running ahead of the game there. We're running kind of a perfect storm right here, together with the bad drought that we had, especially in Texas and going up through the lower Midwest there. Our beef cow slaughter, just the beef cows, not the dairy cows, but beef cow slaughter has been up 13% year to date. And it was pretty big a year ago because we had a big cow sell-off up in the northern plains. But man, have we really been slaughtering our beef cows, which is our calf factories, of course. But our carcass weights are the heaviest that they've ever been for this time of year. At the same time, our grading is by far lower than a year ago, lower than last year, lower than the year before, and lower than the 5-year average for right now. So you think, my gosh, why do we have these big cattle and they're not grading very well? We haven't been pumping as much corn to them because corn's really expensive. And it's going to get more expensive if we don't get this railroad strike squashed here. I've been talking about that and getting some blowback because there's a lot of railroad workers that raise cattle part-time, and then they watch this report, and I think they're great guys, but my gosh, if we have this railroad strike coming, it cripples your rail transport. I mean, we are in a bind. They've already decided that they're stopping some of your grain shipments because they don't want to get them stuck out there. This thing could happen as early as Friday morning. And I mean at 12 o'clock a.m. Friday morning, it could happen. We were going to have a consent to stop this through Congress. The Republicans were trying to get a unanimous consent to stop the railroad strike, but it was blocked, and they had to have all your senators say that they wanted to stop this, which you would think it's a no-brainer. Of course, we want the rail workers to get what they want. We don't have no problem with that, but we sure don't want to see it come to a strike. But Bernie Sanders, he's the socialist himself, he decided to block that, so we didn't have unanimous consent to stop the railroad strike, but sure would have made sense to do that. But we have your Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act coming up on the Hill here sometime this month. We're expecting a vote on that. I'll give you kind of an update on that. As of right now, of course, Deb Fischer is the author of that bill, Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act. We now have 20 co-sponsors in the Senate, 10 of them Democrat and 10 of them Republican. And you talk about a well-balanced bill there if they're trying to get something done. Our latest additions were back in the summer. We got Mike Rounds, senator from South Dakota, to sign on. And just this week, a senator that pulls a lot of clout, he's one of my favorites, Foghorn Leghorn himself, John Kennedy from Louisiana, has signed on as a co-sponsor to the Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act. We may get a fairly unanimous vote on that in the Senate, which would sure help it get through the House. But we are looking for that to come up sometime this month, and there is goings on with that bill, and they are talking about it, and they do have staffers that are pushing it. So we appreciate everything you guys have done. if you've got any clout at all, which everybody does, every voter does, you have any clout at all with your U.S. representative, House of Representative, send them a message, send them an email, put a call in or something like that. Tell them that we desperately need Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act, because so many times they get mixed messages from the cattle industry, because we're not real good about getting together, because we're just kind of stubborn by nature, and we get to fighting amongst ourselves. And so our representatives, many of them don't know what the heck we want. They get mixed messages from us. But talking about some of those mixed messages, you know, we gather up a lot of money through the beef checkoff. This last gathering was $38.2 million to spend through the fiscal year of 2023. Had 9 different groups that were awarded some of the money through the Cattlemen's Beef Board, and I'll give you a little rundown at a few of those. Cattlemen's Beef Board has awarded out that $38.2 million. They actually awarded $1.85 million to themselves, so that was nice. NCBA, National Corporate Beef Association, has gotten $25.7 million of those dollars to do their projects with. U.S. Meat Export Federation, which they've been doing a really good job. We talked on the last visit that we've got all-time record U.S. beef exports. They got $8.2 million, and they even threw a bone to the U.S. Cattlemen's Association. That was a small bone compared to the others, but $450,000 for all the good that they're doing, which one of them is pushing, trying to get this Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act, but the hell of it is, NCBA is using part of their funds to fight against it. But I encourage you guys to support U.S. Cattlemen's Association. Going to be having a big annual meeting coming up in December. It's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. It's not going to be in the Northern Plains. It's not going to be in Billings, Montana this time. They're branching out. They've got a lot of people signed up to come to the winter meeting in December. And the hell of it is, it's going to be the second week of the finals, which is kind of a pain for a lot of us, including me. I had to change my trip around, but I'm going to be there speaking on a panel and just around there speaking with all the guests and attendees. But you should look that up at U.S. Cattlemen's Association and sign up to go to Nashville to the annual meeting. Let's talk about your board for Wednesday. October live cattle futures down 45 cents at 144.35. December was down 40 cents at 150.05. Your back months on live cattle were down 25 cents to up 20 cents, so just kind of a mixed day in your live cattle pits. Feeder cattle bounced back some from being down so hard earlier in the week, but September feeder cattle were up 52 cents at 179.97. That's a premium now to what our index levels are at, because we've been so much lower in the cash market this week. October feeder cattle up 90 cents at 181.42. Your back months on feeder cattle up 42 cents to up 65 cents. Your corn was down 10.5 cents, so it pretty much, everything that happened this week in corn's kind of been washed away at 6.82 1/4 a bushel. Beans lost another 23 3/4 cents on Wednesday, settling regular trading at 14.55 a bushel. Talk about your fat cattle trade, which we did have quite a bit of it in the Northern Plains, none in the Southern Plains. You've heard of LA Confidential. We're going to start calling it Colorado Confidential, because we do not get to find out what's happened over there, because there's just not enough participation from the packers. Iowa sold 3,100 head on Wednesday. That's the most they've had this week of any day. Only 4,600 so far for the week. Live sales in Iowa on Wednesday on the little dab of trade from 143 to 144, which is basically steady. And dress sales from 226 to 230, which could be a pinch better there. Nebraska, 4,500 head confirmed on Wednesday. Only 4,800 head for the week, pure negotiated sales. Live sales in Nebraska only 142, which is kind of where they were at late last week. But I think maybe later in the afternoon on Wednesday they got a few cattle sold more up into that 143, 144 range from what I'd heard the rumblings about. But dress sales from 224 to 227, which is about steady with last week for them. Kansas and Texas have not traded a hoof, and they've had bids of 141, at least in Kansas that I know of, and they have passed those steady bids. So we may gain a little ground in the Southern Plains. Doesn't look like they're going to gain much. Maybe just take a little bit of the losses back on a dress basis. In the Northern Plains, it's going to close that gap on the premium that the Northern Plains has been trading to the Southern Plains here for the last half of the summer or so. But box beef cutout values were down hard on Wednesday, and it has a lot to do with the economy. And the economy sucks, and inflation is up, and that is curbing things because they're going to continue to raise interest rates, which is going to cut back on spending until we get things kind of lined out. But choice cuts down 319 on Wednesday at 253.47. Selects down 347 at 230.11. We're going to have a big week in slaughter again. They've got those chain speeds running wide open, guys. They need the product. Up through the first 3 days of the week, your cattle harvest 379,000. Can't compare it with a week ago because we had that Monday holiday, but compared to the same week a year ago, that's up 27,000 week to date there. So big time gains there, and going to have another big slaughter this week. Talk about what else is going on. Livestock Risk Services, talk about them pretty regular around here. They are your LRP specialists, and guys, especially for you backgrounders and even for you cow-calf operators, the LRP is your best hedge on your investment there. Take a look at where you can lock your steer calves in. Anything under 600 pounds there. It's well into the $2 range, guys. It makes sense to go ahead and lock those in. You can lock your heifers in. You don't have to have square loads. You can do it however many heads you got, and they really don't care, where they land. You can get an LRP on any size of cattle, any number of cattle. For you guys that are going to be backgrounding cattle on wheat, you got to get in on that deal, guys. Especially when the government's going to kick in and pay for a good percentage of that premium. But check out Livestock Risk Services. Talk about your feeder cattle market. On Wednesday, late Wednesday, your real-time index on DV auction sitting at 176.94, down $2. And we've lost nearly $4 this week already on your real-time index. And you wonder why your real-time index is running further down than what your CME cash feeder cattle index is. Well, it's because it's up to date and current. Another reason is because we cover a lot more Kansas sales than your CME cash feeder cattle index does. They don't carry, all they cover in Kansas are your two winter barns in Pratt and Dodge City, and then Salina, Kansas, and we cover nearly all of those bigger regional Kansas barns there. And the market's just lower, guys. It just is. Talk about your big sales on Wednesday. OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma, 7,900 head, feeders and calves, $6 to $8 lower. Ouch. A lot of guys are busy sowing wheat. We've seen that all around. We got some light showers down here in the Texas Panhandle on Wednesday afternoon and evening there. I saw up there in eastern Colorado they were getting some light showers, and maybe a little more than light showers in a few areas there in eastern Colorado. They can always use that too, but tell you what, right after you get done sowing wheat, get those light showers on there. It really helps to get that crop growing, and a lot of guys, especially down here in the Texas Panhandle, have got a pretty good stand on their dryland wheat, and it's really encouraging. It's just that these calves are pretty high, and any kind of supplemental feeding is going to be really high too. But OKC West and El Reno, I told you the market was 6 to 8 lower on all classes, but look at what some fancy calves will bring there. And the fanciest calves that they had there in El Reno this week, they had a load or a little more, 92 head, fancy 572-pound steer calves, bring $2.10 a pound, and their sisters, 98 head, weighed 536 at $1.87. So impressive quotes there out of El Reno, and that's just kind of what you can figure on buying some real nice calves there, and you might as well go ahead and buy the good ones, guys. Dodge City, Kansas, winter livestock at 3,500 head there on Wednesday. Feeder steers were steady to $4 lower. They called the feeder heifers steady to $2 higher, but light calves were sharply lower. $10 and more on the steers and over $7 lower on the heifers, which kind of surprised me there because they're getting ready to start stocking wheat there. But I've talked to some guys in southwest Kansas. They haven't been getting these rains that we've been getting here the last few weeks, and they are terribly dry. But they know they're going to have some wheat probably, and so they're going to have to get started buying those calves. They just hate to get started on them. How about some individual quotes all across the regions there? How about Bloomfield Livestock Market in Bloomfield, Iowa? That's the Schooley family there. We're selling these new crop calves pretty dang good there. They sold the Nap calves. These were weaned, 62 head, weighed 452 at $2.55 a pound. Impressive quote there. How about Coffeyville Stockyards, the North Barn in Kansas? Now they've combined them, Tyler and Layton. They've got both sales. They've got Coffeyville, Kansas, and South Coffeyville, Oklahoma. They call it the North Barn and the South Barn. The North Barn is where they feature the feeder cattle on Wednesdays, guys. In the South Barn, they're going to be selling the cows more often. But they had an impressive size string that they sold at the North Barn on Wednesday. 395 head in one whack. They weighed 8 1/4. They were 3 colored cattle. Kind of gives you an idea of some mixed steers. 395 head, weighed 8 1/4, bring 176.50. So impressive quote there for Coffeyville Stockyards. I want to talk to you about the Zoetis stick-out sale of the day. It was Torrington Livestock Markets in Torrington, Wyoming. 3,500 feeders after the big Labor Day special that they had last week of 6,600. Man, you think they haven't marketed the cattle through there in the last couple of weeks, but this week's market was $3 to $7 lower mostly, so pretty consistent lower markets all around the region. Of course, that's in comparison to that Labor Day special where they have the most prestigious strings on there, but they had some really nice consignments this week too. Look at this automated market report out of Torrington Livestock Markets on Wednesday. Your best tested weights, 582 head of 7-weight steers, average 764 with a weighted average price on all those 7-weight steers of $183.27. 722 head of the 8-weight steers in Torrington averaged $849, the weighted average price of $178.19. Look at your heifers, the best tested weights there. 455 head of 7-weight heifers, average 760 pounds at $177.09, and 395 head of your 8-weight heifers. Torrington, Wyoming averaged $837 with a weighted average price of $173.58. Stick-out sale I saw in Torrington was 115 head of NHTC steers, weighed 602 at $212. Very impressive there. Talk about some more. How about Twin Falls Livestock Commission in Twin Falls, Idaho? My friends there sold 156 steers, weighed 834 at $178.35. Got to throw in a quote from my old stomping grounds from when I was young, 5 States Livestock, Clayton, New Mexico. You guys have heard me talk about that. My grandpa built that sale barn with his 2 hands, a wore out post hole digger that I've got here in my shop building. and a few hired hands there, but some of it's some of the same pens that he built himself. But they had a pretty good sale there in Clayton on Wednesday, including this big quote of mixed steers, 88 head of them, weighed 885, 5 states livestock, Clayton, New Mexico, bring 170 and a quarter. But the best quote that I saw anywhere, your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Hub City Livestock in Aberdeen, South Dakota, DV auction customer. 3 loads of these steers. They were non-implanted, so I don't know if they had them all signed up for NHTC, but they could have been. 3 loads of them weigh 930 at $191. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday.